Now to a case that has riveted the nation. Jury deliberations are now underway in the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy. The Massachusetts mother killed her 3 young children in 2023 before she tried to kill herself. The 5-week trial has centered largely on Clancy's mental state at the time. During closing arguments today, Clancy's defense team argued she was experiencing postpartum psychosis and did not receive the care she needed. The prosecutor argued she understood right from wrong and made a choice.
Going to Rhode Island. Being told, no, we can't help you. Calling a suicide hotline, we can't help you. Calling another suicide hotline, we can't help you. My God, what does she have to do? She was reaching out for help, and she was not getting it.
Their mom is the one that's hurting them. Their mom is the one that's killing them. That's extreme atrocity and cruelty.
Beyond the courtroom, this case has sparked a much larger conversation about the realities of life after childbirth and whether our healthcare system is doing enough to support mothers. Dr. Sarah Oreck, reproductive psychiatrist and president and co-founder of Mavita Health, joins us live. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
As you watch the trial today, I'm curious what stood out to you about the way both sides portrayed Clancy's mental health.
I think the defense really made a great narrative on really how the state of Massachusetts and I think America failed Lindsay in terms of the health care. She was desperate to be admitted. She was desperately calling hotlines and still did not receive the care that she should have, the evidence-based care for postpartum psychosis. I like to remind people that postpartum psychosis is treatable, that most of the patients, every patient I've had with postpartum psychosis gets better. 98% get better if they are diagnosed and treated appropriately, and a very, very small percentage go on to hurt themselves or their children. So this is, I think, really an indictment on the healthcare system in America and women's mental health in general. In terms of the prosecution, they laid out, I think, a lot of stigma and misinformation about mental health. People can look absolutely fine and be suffering. People can function. They can go to a museum and not appear to be ill, but they are.
Let me ask you, in this particular situation, we heard her lawyer argue or talk about the fact that she had reached out many times but didn't receive that help. If there is someone who's watching right now or knows of anything like this, if you reach out and you don't get the help, what are you supposed to do?
This is where I think we're all lost, right? If you go to the emergency room, if you call the hotline, if you ask to be admitted, how come we're not? This is a bigger issue. This is not just those healthcare providers. The healthcare providers are also part of a system that is failing. Insurance companies often dictate how long we can see a patient, whether a patient can be admitted or not to a psychiatric unit. So I think it's a whole system issue that really needs to be looked at. But also, this is not a woman's problem. This is a family's issue. It's important for partners, for families to get involved. If you see, your daughter-in-law suffering this much, come over, help her, make food, take care of the kids. Don't leave someone who is saying that they are struggling, that they are having thoughts of harming themselves and their children alone with their children.
Absolutely. Great advice there. Let me go back to the trial for a minute. We've seen video of women dressed in pink gathering outside the courthouse to support Clancy. They've expressed their empathy without excusing what happened. Why do you think Clancy's story resonated with so many women?
I think so many women see the lack of health care that she got that happens to women every day. They're gaslit. They're told that they don't need the care and they're denied the care that they need. And ultimately, I think this is underdiagnosed. This is under-researched. We need to know more information about how postpartum psychosis works. We have some treatments for it, but it could get better. And ultimately, I think every woman sees themselves in this system that didn't have enough support. A partner wasn't there all the time. Where was that village? I think motherhood in America is right now a huge struggle. And I think that's what the women in pink are there to say.
Last but not least, I know we kind of went over this already, but if you or someone out there is watching right now and they're struggling, clearly you've talked about the gaps in the way the healthcare system identifies and treats women struggling after childbirth. If you're that family member, what do we need to do to help?
I think it's still worth it to go to the ER, to present information, to say, I'm concerned about this. So go to your nearest emergency department if you do think there's something going on that's more serious, like psychosis, if someone is saying that they have thoughts of harming themselves or others. And certainly hotlines are something that you can try, but of course here we see that they failed. I created an organization called Mavita Health because I think people deserve specialized care that's covered by their insurance, and it's specialized for women that go through all these very specific and different issues that aren't the same as general psychiatry. There's a uniqueness to what happens in the postpartum that really needs to address. And of course, Postpartum Support International has a lot of resources that help you find providers in your specific area that are specialized in women's mental health and postpartum mental health specifically.
Dr. Sarah Oreck, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for giving us a little insight into this. We appreciate it.